Keep your head high to the sky. Keep your head to the sky. As long as you keep your head to the sky. We're in the midst of sorrow. You can't see up and looking down. On a brighter day, tomorrow will rain. Oh, you hear the voice of reason telling you this could never be done. No matter how hard reality seems, just hold on to your when things around you crumble. No, you don't have to stumble and fall. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Wow, I'm excited beyond words. Welcome to tonight's show, Life with Shanita, and I am Shanita Connolly. I'm pretty excited because I have the privilege and the pleasure of having one of my dearest friends to join me tonight for a conversation about our personal journey and how important it is to have a relationship with Christ. And so we're going to share candidly our journey in hopes that it will inspire you on your journey. Life with Shanita has a purpose and a goal. And it was started with a goal to help people overcome life's challenges and to encourage them to live a vibrant life. I've had my share of challenges, and the most recent one for me was the loss of my husband in 2015. And after the loss of my husband and being in a very dark place, I woke up one morning the next year, probably 8 months later, and God said, live. And I decided that I would live, regardless of what great loss I had, losing my mother, losing my father, my son being incarcerated, and then losing my beloved husband, that I had to continue to live in spite of life's challenges. So I chose to live a vibrant life. And so my challenge to you, regardless to what you may be dealing with or have gone through, is that it is a choice, and we do have to decide that we will continue to live beyond the challenges that we're faced. And so my desire is that this show will definitely inspire you to pick up the torch and continue the race. Is Your House in Order? My first of 2 books that I have written since my husband passed is near and dear to my heart, because when my husband passed away, we were not ready for his transition. We knew we needed to dot the I's and cross the T's, but we were taking time to get those things done, and we took too long. So as a couple, we did not get to accomplish those things in order. So I am hoping that my voice, my experience will wake people up, and it will send them to get their wills, get their power of attorneys, get their life insurance, make sure that it is adequate, check in with the banking institutions to make sure that they have someone payable upon death listed on their bank account. All of those things that we can do so that when death knocks at the door, because we know that it is going to knock at the door for all of us at some point. We know when we enter this world, but we do not know when we will leave this world. So if we can be as prepared as possible. That is a gift of love to our loved ones, particularly while we're in this COVID-19 season and it is attacking people and taking them out left and right. The gift of love is to be prepared and to prepare so that the loved ones won't have to be stressed during their time of grieving. So I also want to make sure that I thank you all for joining us every week, whether it's your first time or you've followed us since April 16th. I want to thank you for being a part of this platform. So without further delay, I am going to bring in this wonderful young lady, Inside Out, and she is going to introduce herself to you guys. So help me welcome Miss Stephanie Denton-Norment. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. So happy to be here with you tonight.
Yes, I am so happy to have you.
It's still day. Yes.
Yes, I'm so glad to have you here. And thank you for accepting the invitation.
Yes.
That means a lot to me.
Well, one thing that we all know about you, Shanita, is we cannot ever say no because you will push us. Yes. 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 To our greatness.
Pushing is good for us, isn't it? Isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Uncomfortable as it may seem, it is a pushing to greatness.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So
yes.
I love it. So thank you for traveling with me.
Yes, glad to be here again. So you told me to introduce myself. And so for those of you who know or don't know me, I was born and raised in Pensacola, down in the 10 yard, which for those of you that know the 10 yard, y'all know what that means. And it was during a time when things were great and not so great. And so again, I thank God for that location at that time because it too was a part of who I am. And so I'm proud of that, proud to be from the 10 yard. I did 13 years of Catholic school, K through 12. I went to an all Black Catholic school, and also I attended a majority Black Catholic church. And so again, right there in the 10 yard. So we were a big family. Extended family, I would say, not just like my immediate family, but really a church family community. And so, I thank God for that too. I joined the military actually in the 11th grade. I signed up in 1981. In my 12th grade year, I celebrated my 18th birthday at Fort Jackson, South Carolina in basic training. And so, to say the least. It wasn't really a celebration, but I brought 18 in with the bang. I spent 13 years, 12 years, 8 months in the military. My last duty station was Washington State. Washington State. And I had become a member of a really great church, which get a little teary. That was really a big part of my growth spiritually. And so I thank God for Pastor Denise, if you're out there, Prophet Barsh, Israel Barsh, Elder Roots, my church family there, because they were really a part of the true growth in spirit for me. I got out of the military actually because of my church. We had a school. My pastor had started a school. And so I gave up. I actually was on the list to be promoted to E7. And so when I made the decision to get out to really work full time for God, the ministry, people were saying, "You're crazy. Like, are you serious? Like, I know you're not giving up 12 years. Like, you are over the halfway point." But God really, I look back and the decision was a good decision because, again, as part of this journey, it has really helped me to really know and understand who God is. And, there's one thing that they say that you got to do what you got to do in order to be who God intended for you to be. And I think that decision was a part of that, doing what God told you to do in order to be what you have to be. My students, I was one of the teachers for the middle school. I think they were 5th through 8th. It was a ACE program, so you didn't really have grades, but I had that age. And so even the kids, like learning from them was like just an experience that you can't really describe. And I miss it. I won't lie about that. School is probably a lot different. It was a Christian school, so I'm sure it was a lot different than regular school, but just the same, the hearts of children, like that you're touching and you're impacting how they think and, maybe who they'll be. And I have students now that were in my classroom that actually have reached out and they remember like some of the things that we did and that, just the activities. And so the conversations and the talks. I also I'm not a dancer, but I was over the praise dancers. And even that, God like really grew me into that role, and the creativity that he just deposited in me. I can't describe it. And so again, that part of my journey and that decision was that was a God thing. We went through some transition with the school and everything, and so I ended up going back to work, and I ended up working for the state of Washington for the Equal Opportunity Office. And shout out to all of my family from Washington State Department of Transportation Equal Opportunity Office. I'm still in contact with a lot of them, but Brenda Richardson Nambi, who was I'm getting full. My director deposited in me even that the call for standing up for justice. And so I worked for the state of Washington for 7 years. I transferred to the office of the Human Resource Office in Washington State as someone asked me to do it. And so I kind of started out in equal opportunity, and then I ended up in HR because I saw equal opportunity as being on the back end. You were getting the complaints and people were filing. I'm thinking, well, if I'm in HR, that's on the front end. So maybe I'll be able to like impact a different outcome on the backside. But I realized it's kind of all the same. And no matter where you are in there, the conversations that you have to help people work through things, it doesn't matter if you want it in HR on the front or in EO on the back with the formalized complaint, because you can make a difference either way. In 2005, my mom got sick, and so I ended up back in Pensacola. And of course, being with the state of Washington, having the state of Washington retirement, looking at that, and again, I laugh too, because people that I talk about how God promotes me 3 times, and then he opens a door and it's time to move. And so Army, E6, number 6. Washington State, came in as a human resource assistant, ended up as a human resource consultant 3, number 3. It's like he does it in 3s. And so when I moved back home to take care of my mom, again, people were like, you're crazy, like you're going to give up a state job. But again, you got to do what God calls you to do in order to be who God calls you to be. And so that has kind of like I really learned to trust God. And I'm at a point in my life where no matter what happens, I've got to trust God. And so when he opens a door and he closes one, I can't get disappointed or, feel a certain way about it, because I know that that's a God thing. And he's giving me the multiples of 3s to kind of let me know that he's doing something. And so I appreciate him. But moving forward, so I moved back home in 2005 to take care of my mom. I ended up not having a job when I got here. People like, just, you'll find a job. You got enough credentials, and God did, because I was on leave when I left Washington, and I was on leave when I found a job. So I never lost any income. So again, God opened that door as confirmation that, hey, this is me. Like, trust me, I'm showing you how to just trust me. And so I had given up my military, but God saw fit for me to go back into the military. And so I started doing recruiting for this company. And I would always go to the job fairs. And the recruiter, Sergeant George, he would always find me. And I would tell the people when I signed up for the job fair, I'm like, please don't put him next to my booth. Like, he is just right there, but each time he would find me and he would request to be by my booth. And he started telling me, hey, you got to go back in. And I'm thinking, hey, I'm over 40. I done hung my boots up. I done put my uniforms up. I don't think so, sir. But persistence, he was very persistent. So again, it's like, okay, he's
like somebody else,
Yes, like, okay, while knocking, here he comes again. So I'm thinking, okay, well, got bad knees, is this really gonna work? I'm probably too old. They're probably gonna tell me, hey, you too old. No, ma'am. But I went all the way through MEPS, and there was God again with that wide door, like the door was open. And I'm thinking, okay, God. And I got assignment to Camp Shelby, Mississippi, which again, a God thing. Elaine Barnes, if you out there, she was instrumental, and Constance Garcia, if you're out there, Lieutenant Colonel, those two women were a part of God's plan for me, because they actually let Sergeant George know, hey, it's a good assignment for her. And so anyway, I didn't have to go back to basic training. I didn't have to go back to AIT, got to Camp Shelby. I lost rank. I had to go back in as an E5, but that was okay, because hey, God had a plan, another plan. And so got to Camp Shelby, and my family out there, Shaw, Ms. Moore, all y'all, that again, another close-knit community that God surrounded me with to really pour into my life. And so I was I was there for a couple years. I mowed for 2 years. And then Sergeant McGee, he said, hey, I see something in you. I see something really, really special in you. You're like a quiet professional. And so that, if anybody, warrant officers, that's what we're referred to as, the quiet professionals. And so I did my paperwork again. I'm thinking I'm too old. Like, I'm already over 40, like going back in. And now you're like, okay, got to go to walk school. Oh, the things that I heard about walk school, I'm like, there is no way that I could actually, God was like, hey, trust me. And so that was worse than basic training, to say the least. But I look at myself now and I say, you know what, God, you had me, you carried me when I really didn't really trust my own self or believe that I could do it, but you showed me that I can. And so now I'm CW3, and I got over, yes. Got over 27 years. I'll have over 35 for pay purposes. And so God has really, really blessed me. And I have another good friend that I want to really just shout out, because she really encourages me too. She kind of like you. She reminds me a lot of you, that she pushes me when I think, like, I'm the quiet professional. I'm in the background, but Miranda McCorby, dear friend, that has been instrumental too in this walk. And so I just thank God. And here I am still in Pensacola, looking to retire next year in September. My multiple of three. I'll be 57, another multiple of 3. So that's my plan. And so I'm looking at them 3s, but if God sees different, then hey, I'm open. Whatever he wants, then that's where I'm at. Like, I've learned to just trust him and just walk it out. So that's me. Thank you.
I love it. Thank you for graciously introducing yourself the way you did, because I know that is so not you, but you did such an amazing job. quiet professional. So you walked us through. I saw the navigation all the way through. And, I think about, where we started in first grade together, and we graduated high school together in 12th grade. And when you mentioned a predominantly Black school from kindergarten to 8th grade, and for first grade to 8th grade for me, and then we transitioned to a predominantly white high school from
Yes.
9th to 12th grade, which was such a different culture for us, but we actually were able to navigate through and graduate. You might have been at top. You're higher on the list of graduates than I was. We went through graduation together. So I am grateful for the journey, and I'm grateful that we reconnected while you were in Washington State.
Yes, yes,
I
yes, yes.
remember how passionate you were about your church that you were affiliated with. So when you were getting full, I was feeling that because I remember the passion you had for that place that you were in at that time,
Yeah,
and how
yeah.
your husband left and came to Pensacola to care for your mom while you stayed there. I just thought, man, this is just wonderful, So I could not wait to rejoin you
Yes.
physically. And we got a chance to do that when you moved back in 2005, because I think I brought the college tour, the kids on the college tour to
Yes.
Pensacola.
But
So
always doing like your energy was like a magnet, and so I thank God that we connected, because I'm thinking, you know what, I want to be a part of what she's doing, because your spirit field, you could just like the anointing oozes off of you, like, and you don't meet no strangers, and you don't let people feel like, you encourage them, like you lift them up. And so yeah, definitely.
I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'll never forget when we got together and we were talking about our 50th birthday, me, you, Ophelia, Paul, and Gerald. And it ended up being me, you, and Ophelia celebrating our 50th birthday together in Pensacola. And when I called y'all and said, hey, would y'all like to do a joint birthday? Would y'all like to do a joint celebration? And as you said, we couldn't say no. But that was the best experience ever, because I think about all the people that came. All of us invited people to that gathering, and we got to see like that. I believe that was the last time I saw Valerie. And the memories that I have of that time spent at the boathouse, right? Is that where we were, at the boathouse?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wonderful, wonderful experience. And so I am just grateful to God that we not only have a personal relationship with him, but we have a great relationship with each other.
Yes.
And
yes.
The love is genuine, pure, sincere. And so just to kind of talk about our Catholic school years, I have a couple of questions for you. What were some things you didn't like about Catholic school, and what were some things that you did like about Catholic school?
That was, for me, that wasn't an easy question, because I think uniforms was probably the thing that I did not like the most. Because for years, my mom actually made uniforms. And so, and they weren't really that pretty either. Like the uniforms overall, I think we ended up at maybe 7th or 8th grade. I'm trying to think. We ended up going through a uniform company. But prior to that, my mom made uniforms. Like we had and so that probably was the worst part, but it wasn't really, like, looking back now, it wasn't that bad, because you didn't have to try to figure out what you was going to put on, or like it was already outlined, right? And I went to, like, for kindergarten through 8th grade, like I said, it was it was a Black Catholic school. And so the teachers, a lot of their teachers were Black teachers. And so I can't really think of anything that I did not like, because I look back and discipline was something that I think I learned, and maybe being quiet. So, being in Catholic school kind of teaches you how to like close your mouth and not talk so much.
I think I get what you did.
Pop the hand. But I was quiet anyway, so that didn't really like phase me as much. But I wish I would have been a little more, like, you were very outspoken. I wish I could have, been a little more outspoken, but it just wasn't me. Like, I didn't embrace it now. I just am who I am.
Right. You've grown blossomed into that person.
Yes. Yeah. So probably the uniform, and it was just Catholic, learning about the Catholic religion, that I didn't know any different at the time. I was born and raised Catholic, Catholic school, Catholic church. Not all the students were Catholic, and so I think we often had conversations kind of about that, and so we just saw it as being different. Not good or bad, just different. I think when I left home, I was introduced to the Protestant and non-denominational religions, and my husband is Baptist, and so of course Baptist, and so I learned that God was in it all. Like, it is really more about the relationship than the religion, and so you don't put God in a box. And I learned not to put God in a box. And not to really limit him. And I think a lot of times religion limits God, and God is so much bigger than that. And so, for Catholic, that's probably one of the things that I can say for the Catholic Church, school and church. Yeah.
And for me, it was Catholic Baptist. So I went to a Catholic school and a Baptist church, and so
Yes.
So over here in the Catholic church, we had mass, and then I go over here to the Baptist church and we shouted.
Yes.
So it was quite different.
I think for me, like, my grandmother is Baptist and my grandfather was Catholic, and so we always had the Catholic Baptist thing going on. But we went to Catholic school, so we had the mass, and
Yes. And so just to piggyback off of what you said about discipline, I'll never forget my parents telling the teachers that they had their permission to treat us just as if they were their children. And so we got paddled at the end of the day. Often I have memories of those paddles. But I think those paddles made me who I am today, and I'm grateful for that. So, like, I'm not, how sometimes people have animosity towards their parents, and I'm mad at my mom and dad because of this and that and the other. I'm not mad at my parents for the way they raised me. They raised me and my siblings the way they did for a reason. And so I'm grateful for that journey. So as we continue, how did the things you learned in Catholic school prepare you for where you are now?
I think, to piggyback on what you just said, is the discipline part of it. I think the Catholic teaching or school really instills discipline in you. Like, even from the handwriting, if it's not right, you're going to do it over again. And so there's a little bit of trying to push the perfection, but I think getting to perfection actually creates the discipline that you need to, like, when things get too hard, you just don't stop. You don't get out of line. You recognize, you don't want, you see trouble before it comes. And so you tend to steer away from trouble in a way that you know where you're going. And so you just discipline yourself to be able to get there. Because you know the end result. Like, they tell you what your goal is, and so they're going to help you meet your goal, even if it was with that paddle.
Yes.
Yeah. You're not gonna be running
It
wild
was a
and
thick one.
crazy. Yes. I didn't get the paddle, but I know Gabe. I know you. If you out there, like I know you got the paddle because you used to tie my hair to the poles outside. Like, and probably that's one thing about Catholic school. Gabe Brown and John Thames.
Oh my God. No, let's
Lord.
talk about John Thames. John Thames, I remember I had my first fight with John Thames. He was a bully. And
Yes.
Gabe was bullying you and John Thames was bullying me. And I was like, that's it. No more. You're gonna get it today, buddy. It never bothered me again.
When I see Gabe now, he's talking about it was just puppy love. No, that didn't feel like puppy love. That felt like oh God, yeah. Those were good days. Yeah.
Those
Our
are
memories were
some
close.
good
So
days. We do have some good memories.
yes, we have some good memories.
Was there ever a time that you were conflicted between what you were taught and what you learned during this journey or where you are today or on the journey? Were you ever conflicted with what you were taught and where you were on that journey? Any time on your journey, were you ever conflicted? Like, this is wrong, I shouldn't be doing this, or forget it, I'm gonna do what I want to do. Were you ever conflicted
I think that's
with
kind of
choices that you made?
for me, yes. And I think that's a normal process because like we grow. And I think like I talked about being born and raised a Catholic. And then when I left home, then I was introduced. Matter of fact, my two roommates my first duty station was Schofield Barracks, Hawaii, and Jessica D. Hatur invited me to her church. And so that was my first experience outside of the Catholic or Baptist church, where the speaking in tongues and really like the people seem to love God in a different way, not as part of tradition, but as part of a relationship. And so again, raising your hands, shouting, speaking in tongues, that was like, okay, what is this? Like, I'm not really sure. Am I supposed to? So there was conflict inside. And of course, again, even with the marriage and all kinds of different teachings that you are taught. And then you come in life and you realize that, people have different circumstances that present choices and then making choices. And so I think even if you make a choice that was different than what you were taught, I think you even learn from that and even grow from it because sometimes because you'll learn what's right for you. And so I think conflict helps you to really figure out what's right for you in, again, this walk, because it doesn't end. I mean, it's continuous. And God is constantly showing us ourselves. I've learned not to be so quick to judge. And I think not to down the Catholic Church, but I think a lot of judging happens without really like seeing things the way God sees them. And you start reading your Bible and you realize, okay, there was a lot of stuff that happened back in the Bible that God gave grace, God gave mercy. And so who am I to not extend that same grace or that same mercy, or to be like, God didn't make us to judge. And so it's not for me to judge you. I can only live my life and hope that my life helps you, along your journey. Like, you see me and you see the God in me, and you want some of that because he got a lot to give. So you can have some if you want some. Really learning not to, yes, hello, but really not to be judgmental. And I hope that I come across like that because I often say too, God got a sense of humor. And so some of the things that may have conflicted with my belief system, God got a sense of humor. He'll like present them to me, they'll become a part of my life. And so now I got to make a decision on like, how do I really feel about this thing? And so, again, I've learned not to judge, and I've learned to really show love and really to just talk and just build relationships. Because Caleb, it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. Hey, yes, that song, that's my song. And so it really doesn't. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. God got something for you. So just live with it. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah. I can't say what God got for you. So
that's right.
He got something for all of us. So whatever he got for you, embrace it. And, too, like a lot of times when I have conversations with people, when they ask for advice, I really let them know, like my daughter, I think about my daughter. I said, do you want me to go in listen mode, or do you want my opinion? Because what I'm going to give you is my opinion. You might not agree with it, but this is my opinion. But what I'm going to tell you is, after our conversation, that you see God for yourself and ask God what he has in that for you. And so, and that not just with her, it's like anybody I have the conversation with, yeah, I'll give you my opinion, but it's only my opinion from where my experience and where I'm at. But you need to know what God got for you, because your journey is not my journey. And so you got to know what your journey is. Yeah. So
it took me many years to realize that with my children. Like, I had to come to terms that my journey was my journey, and I was only assigned to them to take them so far, and then it's up to them to navigate the rest of their journey with or without him. And so I was hoping that, the personal relationship that I have would, cause them to have their own deeper personal relationship. Like you said, not necessarily, formal religion, but a personal relationship. And that's why, I know that it's personal for us. And the only reason that we are where we are today is because of that personal relationship that we have with Christ. And I wanted to share a scripture that I think will speak to us and to others. And it's John 15:4-5. And it says, abide in me and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine and you are the branches. He who abides in me and I in them bears much fruit, for without me you can do nothing. And so I think that is, so true. And if we would really just kind of understand that personal relationship where we truly abide with Christ, we are going to live a fruitful life.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. And just like in Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And really, God strengthens us to be able to do what he needs for us to do. And so knowing that and holding on to that is something that, like, you don't get from nowhere else. Like, the greatest strength that you could ever have is the strength that God gives you. And he tells you in the word, like, hey, you can do it through my strength. And so, not just something, what'd he say?
Not our own. It's our,
yes.
And so I think about that as it relates to when I lost my husband and how distraught I was, and only through that strength am I here today. And when he said, I need you to live and I need you to share your story, and how embarrassed I was that this couple who seemed to have it all together really didn't have it all together. You really want me to share that? Like, you really want me to tell that? And he says, I need you to obey my instructions. And so I thank God that I was able to find strength through him and continue the journey, because so many people, I get so many testimonies, so many stories, and I'm sure there are many people who don't share, but I have inspired them to get their house in order. They will call me and say, because of you, I have dotted my I's and crossed my T's. I did not ever think about it like this. And thank you for, being the voice of my conscience to cause me to move to action. And so I just think that if we really truly understand the importance of that personal relationship, it is so vertical, like up and down, me and him. It is not you and me and him. It's personal. And we share that common bond with him, and that's what keeps us connected. And so I'm grateful for my journey.
Yeah. So that's
I have another question for you.
I think we
no, go ahead, finish that thought.
I was gonna say, like, you were really instrumental for me because I thank God that my husband and I have been debt free since 2005, like literally debt free. And so, but we didn't have our affairs in order. Like, we have assets and we have things that we need to have a plan for what's going to happen. And we had not had that plan. And so when when God did what he did, it really opened up for me, because it was like, oh my God, like, God, okay, this is you. Like, this really is you telling me, yeah, you might got this going on, but it ain't all, there's more. And so that was the more piece that I needed to complete. And so I thank God for that. Definitely.
Yeah. And the wonderful thing that I can say about your and my relationship. I remember when you came for my wedding, when I introduced you to Winston, when we would come vacation and stay with you guys. We just had so many wonderful memories, and your husband and him bonded so well. And so I just am grateful for the heart of God that resonates inside of you. You've never changed. You've always been the same. And so I'm just grateful to still be connected to the end of our lives together.
Yes.
Even if
the best is yet to come. Like, even he reminded me. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. The best is yet to come. Like, we've had a good journey, but the best is still yet to come. It really is.
It really is. And y'all call me bossy, but okay, I'll take it. I think it's leadership.
That's right. Look, spin it however you need to, but yeah, it's in a good way. It is in a good way. That's
right. So I have another question that says, knowing what you know now, what would you have told your younger self? Knowing what you know today, what would you have told your younger self?
I think what I tell myself every day is something I would tell my younger self still, is really to trust God. Like, oftentimes, because you know me, I am who I am. I'm going to second guess myself. And so just trust God is almost like stepping out into the deep. Like, don't be afraid to really just, because I think a lot of things that I probably would have done, I didn't do because of being afraid to do them. And so I would tell my younger self to trust God and to not be so afraid, because God got you. He got you. Like, I often laugh because, and I talk, Miranda, probably, if you out there, you probably know this, because I talk about I have to be careful what I ask God for, because he always answers, he even answers my ramblings. And so, and sometimes they say silence. He may not answer you right away. And silence is sometimes the answer, but he has always answered. Like, I look back and I'm thinking, oh God, like, I didn't even know I wanted that. I was just talking. I was just saying it out loud or saying it to myself. And like, he made it happen. So I'm like, I have to be careful in my ramblings because God honors it. Like, he hears me, and I trust him that he knows what's best for me. So again, he's taught me how to really stop before I ramble too much, because he gonna hear me and answer me that is really what I need, not just what I want. So yeah.
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly. And then I have another one, which is, we've talked about it throughout the entire conversation, but how important is that relationship with Christ to our journey? We've kind of shared, snippets of that, but share with the audience, the importance of having that personal. I'm talking about your
Yes,
own
yes,
relationship.
yes. I think it's essential. I think it's just like air that you breathe. I think it's that critical that you really do have God. And I think about my daughter and, her journey. And so, they say names are important. And so when I named her, her name means I have asked God and he answered. And so when she goes through things, I remind her to really get back and remember your name. Like your name is I asked God and he answered. And so remind God that, but you got to have a relationship. And so I look at her now on her journey. And I thank God for it because she's oozing it. Like she's not living she's not the person who I thought, like, go to school, get educated. But my daughter her spirit is a God spirit. Like love oozes out of her unintentionally. And so I thank God that
Mm-hmm.
even though she didn't finish school like my plan was for her too, but God got a journey for her and she's going to reach people that I may never reach because of where he has taken her on her journey. But having that relationship, I think, is like air. It's essential. You got to have it because that way you got to know that you know that you know that you know. And I think you got to have a relationship and really commune with God so that you can get to that place that you know that you know that you know, so that even when he says step out into the deep, you're stepping out because you know God got you. Like no matter what happened, good, bad, or indifferent, it's meant for you because you sought God first and you trust God, and so He ain't gonna fail you. He's not. He's not gonna fail you, and I believe that. And so, like air, I would say it's that essential, like air that. Yes. Yeah.
And I want to just kind of piggyback off of that, when we talk about the importance of our relationship and when he gives us um, instructions and listening and following, because that, I was supposed to do this type of show back in 2017.
Yes. Yep.
I gathered my team of people, and I think it was maybe 6 or 7 of us.
Yep. Yep.
But it wasn't the right timing. And as over the years, as I pondered and pondered and pondered and pondered, like, okay, Lord, it took COVID-19 to happen and him to say, what are you waiting for?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, really? Like in my living room? Like, really?
Yes.
That's where you
Yes.
want me to
Yes. Yes.
like
Yes.
humble beginnings? He said, I
Yes.
need you to go forth and trust me and follow my lead. And following my lead is going to take you to places that I have destined for you. And so I just had to grow to learn the relationship is important and it's so essential to listen and follow his instructions, even when it doesn't look
Yes. Yes.
wonderful or pretty
Yes.
or perfect,
Yes.
that
Yes.
the timing is now.
Yes.
Do
Yes. Oh
you
yeah.
know?
Yeah. Like
So
to the deep.
if
Like you
nothing
can't
else,
see it.
I've learned
Yes.
that.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
And that's how God is. I
And
mean,
I've
that's what
also,
He is.
mhm. He's so gracious, and I've also learned, in even with my children, and my son when he got in trouble, and I remember how I, I just wanted to lose it, and I remember God reminding me that He's been gracious and
Yes.
merciful to me, And although he took a different path, you're
Yep.
going to have to learn to be gracious and
Yep.
merciful to him and love him like
Yes.
I have loved you and like I love the
Yes.
church. You're going to have to give him that agape love. And
Yes.
so only because of that personal relationship was I able to do that. Even in my moments of being disappointed. And even, there's other parts of my children's lives that don't line up with what I would have desired for them. But he constantly reminds me, you still have to love them regardless to
Yes.
where they are and the mistakes that they made. They are my children just like you are.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
yeah. And so that personal relationship, having that conversation and communing with him caused me to get to that place. Am I perfect? No, still make mistakes.
I don't
But I'm
know.
working on becoming a better.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
That's
I'm
how I'm
working on.
telling you. I see her, and yes, she took a different path, but I see God moving in that thing. Like it is different than anything that I would have imagined, but God is moving in her direction. And like I said, she's gonna be a powerhouse. She is going to be a
Yep.
powerhouse, tattoos and all. But you know what? My
Yep.
baby, yeah, she loved God. Like she has learned to love God. She is learning to really trust him. And so, like I told her, hey, God got you no matter what it is. And hey,
Right.
things happen. Paul
And,
was in jail.
and I'm sure you continue to speak life to her,
Yes,
as most parents continue to speak life to their children. And the relationship that we have will cause them to want to know him better.
yes,
And
yes,
that's
yes,
ministry. That's I think that's ministry in our personal space. We can do all this, but in our personal space. So I'm still growing. I'm
yes,
still being perfected. And
yes.
I thank him for being patient with me. And as I prepare to journey to 56 years of age on October 16th, tomorrow, I will launch my challenges. So I have been preparing myself for a few weeks mentally,
Yes.
because I lost 40 pounds after Winston passed away, and I kind of stopped or got at a plateau, and it's time to go to another level. And so in order for me to go to another level, I had to, really work on my mind and get it
Yes.
right again, because we all know until you get that mind right, nothing is going to really happen in the
No,
in the manner that it could
no,
happen. And so
no.
I'm planning to launch that challenge, and I'm hoping that at least 56 people will join me on this challenge in some way. It doesn't have to be the total way that I'm going, but in some way that's going to help them become a better them, health wise, and that their relationship with Christ, because I know I'm gonna probably be praying and crying and snotting. I want to have some sugar. I want to have some sugar every day, and I can't. So I've only said one day a week.
Yeah. Oh God.
So I
Yeah.
know that relationship, like Lord, you already know your child.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm gonna need you to strengthen me through
Yes.
you. I can do all things, and so
Yes.
that's what I'm leaning and depending on.
Look, well,
I
I'm
know
not
you're in the. I know you're in it with me.
I'm on the 56. I'm one of them numbers because I'm joining you. Yes. I'm gonna be
Right.
right there
I
with
thank you. I thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the journey for 56 days until I turn 56. And look, a slimmer me and
Yes.
a
Yes.
healthier me is the ultimate goal. So
Because
tomorrow I am going
health is wealth.
health as well.
Yes, it
Health
is.
as well. And so, yeah. So I am going to tomorrow. I'm going to be making a avocado chicken salad. So just
Okay.
picture that with
Yeah.
roasted corn and purple onion and cilantro and fresh avocado and chicken blended. It can be in a wrap or it can be on a bed of lettuce. Just picture that.
Say, watch out, God going to stand down with you now. Watch out. Hey, Right. We'll be doing calling the orders in. Can we get one of them?
Right. Exactly. Change is coming. I'm still growing and developing, and so I'm so grateful that, as I said earlier, he is gracious and merciful in all his dealings, and that I'm one of his favorite children, just like you. And I will continue my journey with him until the day I die. So, if
Yes.
you'd like to say any parting words to the guest, one thing that I do want to bring up, as we were talking about getting your house in order, as a human resources manager, and I want you to, encourage the audience in making sure that they are looking at their affairs on the job. I know you
Yes.
and I talked on several occasions where people were married and they didn't change their life insurance policy over to the new spouse,
Yes.
and they had a heart attack and died, and the life insurance money went to the ex-wife, and it was just chaos. And that is like my baby, right?
Oh,
And
yes.
so I
Oh, yeah.
want you to share some parting words and encourage the audience as a human resource manager, when we don't take the time to handle our business on that level, how it can leave people in a very devastating manner.
Okay. Okay. So for me, that's kind of near and dear to my heart because I am the manager that's over the benefits department. And so one of the things when we sit down doing new hire orientation and we look at the benefits and everything, and people are not really sure. We do what we call know your benefits and really go in depth for people to really understand and know their benefits. And I spend a lot of time on the life insurance one because I always say it's not about you. Life insurance is not about you. It's not a life benefit. It's actually a death benefit. And it's for the people that you're leaving behind. So don't think about you when you're making a decision about life insurance. Think about the people that you're actually leaving behind. Will they be able to take care of your affairs, because they're going to have your affairs to take care of because you're dead, you're not there anymore. And then they need to still be able to live and not have to worry about it, because they're already going to have to worry about burying you or putting you in the ground or however you're going to go. But once that happens, then life still goes on. Are they going to be able to do what they need to do? And if you don't set that up while you're living, like I think you talked about that on one of your shows too, Shanita, about making sure that you understand that part of it. It's like live from the grave. I think that's how it was put. But we see it more times than not. Even taking care of your beneficiaries.
Run it from the grave.
Yeah, and then we as an HR professional, we have to like explain why I can't talk to you about the insurance benefits because you're not the beneficiary, although you may be the wife or the child or what have you. So make sure that a lot of people don't like to talk about it, but talk about it. Like have the conversation, live as if you're in the grave, as I think that's how it's said, because it ain't about you. It's actually about those that you're leaving behind that still have to live. So I encourage you to have a hard conversation because it's not an easy conversation. I think about when we have, it's like, nobody will talk about it. You don't want to talk about you dying. Well, I am going to die because, part of living is dying. And so it's going to happen. May not know when, but it will happen. So take care of your affairs. And your book is exceptional. I know we're going to be having the second edition that's going to be expounding on all the things that you share in there even more. So I encourage you to even get a copy of purchase a copy of Shanita's book because it really outlines it and it's godly principles in there. And so again, just again, take care of your affairs for those that you leave behind.
Yes. Thank you. Thank
Yes.
you. It wasn't enough time, but I am so grateful.
I just want to say shout out to my grandbaby because I didn't give my baby a shout out. So I thank God for my son. Finally, him and Sarah giving me a grandbaby. So I'm gonna be trying to make some trips up there. Thank God for being debt free, so I can just get my plane ticket when COVID is over and make that trip.
Yes. She is so beautiful. So congratulations again. Welcome to my world, and enjoy the journey.
Yes.
And I love you dearly, and thank you for joining me. And congratulations on all of your successes as a Chief Warrant Officer 3, as a Human Resource Manager, soon to be President-elect of the Greater Pensacola SHRM chapter, and so much more. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
You know how much I love you.
I love you too. All right. See you guys later. Thanks for listening.
And have a good evening.
All right.
All right, dear. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Thank you. So thank you guys for joining us this evening. It is 8 o'clock and it's just never enough time. But I just want to just thank you all for being a part of this broadcast. And please join us next Thursday, next week at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to have a conversation about relationship. Pursue a relationship that you desire. We're going to have two amazing men, Gregory Devon and Bradley Ramsey, who will be joining me to talk about pursue relationship. So send your questions in to me about, if you're single, about relationship, a relationship that you desire. These gentlemen, both of them are actually pastors. One is single, one is married, and they are so cool. Let me just say that. But I want you guys to please send in your questions for them. A relationship about pursuing a relationship you desire. Next Thursday at 7 p.m. And you guys have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful evening. When things around you crumble, no, you have to stumble and fall. Keep pushing on and don't you look back. Be optimistic. I know the storms and strife cloud up